Yeah, I think the African leaders have to make it count. Um, and this generation, it is no more enough um, to pay lip service to us, the young people, and as a continent. You look at people like Museveni, for example. Um, the talking um, about Pan Africanism goes on. You know, he talks a lot about this, about that, about what Africa should have done. The other day, he was talking about how the African chiefs during the 15th century could not come together, and they could not come together and protect Africa. You know, he spoke about Vasco da Gama, how he came all the way to the Cape of Good Hope, and then he continued all the way to East Africa, and he even went, all the way to India, and how it took um, 300 years before even the first white man entered the interior of East Africa, and the chiefs, according to him, the chiefs uh, are weak and useless. Um, they were not able to protect the African people. They were not able to come together and protect the African people. But a closer analysis and a closer look of Museveni and his, look at things, his look of things, and how he conducts himself, tells us that there is a lot of contradictions in Museveni's actions and what he says. So there is a big contradiction between what he says and what he does. I'll give you an example. If you look at what happened with Gaddafi, we know these cables leaked, the WikiLeaks cable documents which were leaked from the United States. Museveni is the one who used to go out there and be sitting, and he was sitting with white people in Washington and gossiping about, Colonel Mama Gaddafi. Colonel Mama Gaddafi, who was trying to push for a united African state, okay, and Museveni contributed in that sense to breaking down the Pan-African ideals. He has recently been engaged in, playing his geopolitics in the Great Lakes region, fighting against Rwanda, and Rwanda to the extent that he closed the borders, and then playing Tanzania against Kenya. At one time he says the pipeline should pass in Kenya. The other time he changes his mind and says the pipeline now should pass in Tanzania. I mean, there's no problem with that. There's no, any bad thing with that. But in the other sense, it creates, an air of contradictions around yourself. And now look at what is happening all over Africa. So if you say that you for Pan-Africanism and you want to unify, or you want to see how we can come together, why are you not saying, you Museveni, when you are sitting in your chair, or you are making your speeches, why are you not talking about France when it is occupying the continent? Why are you not talking about the military bases of the United States that have filled up the continent, have been filling up the continent? We have more than, some analysts saying 50 military bases on the continent. Why do you people allow the United States to have a military base in Djibouti, which you very well know that this military base is very dangerous for the whole of us Africans? Why do we allow France to be, dominating all the Sahel? When you people, you allow France, you were President Museveni, President Uhuru Kenyatta, this is very dangerous to the lives of all Africans. How can France be collecting reserves from Africa when all of you are sitting down as presidents? President Museveni, for 30 years, you've been sitting there as a president. How can this go on and there is no campaign amongst the presidents in Africa to uproot this kind of, thinking, to stop this exploitation? So I really see that the things which you are criticizing as a president, as President himself, and claiming that you are a Pan-Africanist, I think that is the same things you are doing, the things you are criticizing the chiefs and what they did in the 15th century, and then the later part of 16th and 17th century, before the whites were able to completely penetrate, into East Africa, even though they in the 15th century definitely they penetrated through West Africa. And you are criticizing the chiefs that they were not able to protect the African people, and they were jumping around in monkey skins and animal skins and saying that they are the lion and stuff like that. That is what you say. So these things which you are criticizing the chiefs about is the same things you are doing. The betrayal, the lack of the lack of confidence in yourself, the lack of confidence in the African personality, what Nkrumah calls the African personality. To me, this is a big contradiction, and it is far removed. It is a contradiction that shows how far removed Museveni's speech and actions are, apart. Okay, so they are far apart. And if you look at Uhuru Kenyatta, he himself also is a living contradiction. When he came to power, riding on the wave of Pan-Africanism, and how he mobilized him and his vice president, his deputy president, President Ruto. They mobilized the whole of Africa to protect them against the ICC, and definitely it was a good thing. Definitely Pan-Africanism has good things in it, and Pan-Africanism definitely will benefit all of us. When we talk about Pan-Africanism, we are talking about a united Africa, and we, the youth of this generation, we understand that the continent must be unified in this decade and a half. In this decade, we must accomplish that task, which Samia Nkrumah, who is the daughter of Kwame Nkrumah, calls the unfinished business. The unfinished business. The unfinished business is the business of completing the task that Nkrumah left behind, the task of unifying the continent, or what Nyerere left behind when he came to Accra in 1997, and he emphasized the need for us to unify the continent politically if we want to survive. And these are some of the things which President Museveni doesn't talk about. He's in procure, minor interests of unifying the East African community, but the matter of unifying the whole continent politically is as urgent as before in this generation, because now nations cannot survive. Small nations, is very hard for small nations to survive without protection from outside. And this is not the position we want to put Africa in, because Africa is a big landmass that must be unified as a civilizational state. So, going back to President Uhuru Kenyatta came riding on the wave of Pan-Africanism. ICC dropped, the case was dropped, and because he was able to mobilize the continent, just the same way as the Prime Minister Abiy recently has mobilized, the continent, and we were able to protect him from neo-colonialism and its mechanisms and its machinations, and Uhuru Kenyatta and Ruto, they mobilized the continent. They mobilized the consciousness of the Pan Africanists, and we were there to support them, to speak against, this racism and these white people who were being racist and prosecuting, only Africans in the ICC. And to the extent that even President Uhuru Kenyatta came to the parliament in Uganda and said that Uganda and Kenya, they should pass the same economic policies. We should have the same budget almost. We should pass the same economic policies. There's no reason why Uganda should pass. And this was a good move. But now as time has gone on, as time went by, we see that President Uhuru Kenyatta, coiled back into Kenya and isolated himself. When he just came to power, he was very Pan-African, even to the extent that Kenyans were worried that President Uhuru Kenyatta was spending most of his time outside the country. Sometimes they say that they made memes and said that President Uhuru Kenyatta is like a visitor in Kenya. Okay, because he was most of the time outside, because he was trying to mobilize the African continent. Most of that time he spent it in Africa, surprising. But when he won, when we were approaching the end of the first term and he won the second term, he retreated. He coiled back into Kenya, and then he started, in some of his speeches, emphasizing how Kenya is different. There's nothing different about Kenya, from the other African countries. How Kenya is unique and stuff. We want this thing of Africa unity, but we have to know that Kenya is different. No, Kenya is not different. Kenya is not different when we have the Maasais in Tanzania, and we have some other Maasais in Kenya. When we have some of the Luos in Kenya, and we have other Luos in Uganda and the Kalenjin. So there's nothing which you are saying that Kenya is special. So if it is unique, if there's any uniqueness, then you should say Africa is unique, or you should say East Africa is unique. Okay, in this direction, but the direction where we want to go, in the direction of African unity, of unifying the continent. So this is the direction where you want to go. So if you are saying that anything is unique about these small states, then you should recognize that, for example, we have the Fulani. They occupy more than 20 countries all over the continent. Why are you not looking at that? Why are you not looking at things from that perspective, that we have now Fulani, as a tribe, the Fulani as a tribe in Africa, who constitute being the biggest ethnic group with more than 20 million people all over West Africa, and some of them are even in as far as Kenya itself, from West Africa, as far as Kenya and Ethiopia. Okay, so why are we not talking about this? So let us talk about how unique Africa is. So what I'm saying is that we cannot be using Pan-Africanism for parochial interests. We cannot be using Pan-Africanism when it suits us. We cannot be going ahead, to disrespect the ideals of our forefathers for personal parochial interests. If we are for Pan-Africanism, let the Pan-Africanism be respected in word and in thought and in action. Okay, let it be respected in word and in action, not only when it fits and you want to protect yourself, say, from sanctions, when you say you want to ward off some criticism from the Western world. No, that is what we are saying. So we are saying that President Abiy, Prime Minister Abiy of Ethiopia, you should not stop, do not stop at using Pan-Africanism to ward off imperialist, aggression against Ethiopia, but you should take this Pan-Africanism all over the continent. And we are saying that President Museveni do not use Pan-Africanism, maybe to fight against homosexuality and stuff like that, to ward off, Western criticism. And when that is done, then you throw it away. And even the worst thing is that you do not act on it, because just imagine that if Uganda and and Kenya and Ethiopia came together, we could immediately start here. The East African, the African Union, the Union of African States could start from here. We could have created a long time a center of gravity, for fighting against foreign domination, for fighting, and you speak out. Even if 3 presidents, made a press conference and they spoke out to push against France and its activities in the West African region. And the United States militaries, they need to go. The United States and its military bases need to be removed from the African soil. The military base at Camp Lamois in Djibouti needs to go. The United States needs to go. All the military bases. Why would France, Denmark, Germany, all these countries put troops on African soil in Mali without the knowledge of other African leaders? So this is unacceptable. Why would the United States put troops in Ghana, where it is building another military base in the northern part of the country, apart from the one they said that they have given them space at the main airport, when the other African leaders, they don't know what is going on? So it puts the lives of other Africans in jeopardy, in trouble. And this should be made very clear, that when you allow the foreign militaries to come to South Africa, for example, the United States to have a military base there, it puts the lives of other Africans, whether they are as far as Morocco and Algeria and Egypt, in danger. The lives of the Africans are put in danger with this kind of thought and meddling and tinkering with neocolonialism. So this is a very, very dangerous thing. So what am I saying? What I'm saying is that the African leaders need to follow up on their words, not only to use Pan-Africanism for parochial interests, not only to speak a different thing and do a different thing, but we want your words to follow your actions. We want your words to be reflected in your actions. So if you, President Cyril Ramaphosa of South Africa, you are saying that they are disrespecting us. They are only disrespecting us when they have attacked South Africa, and then you want to arouse Pan-African sentiments. This has to be rejected. Cyril Ramaphosa, President Cyril Ramaphosa, this has to be rejected. This is un-African. For you people to use the ideals of our forefathers, which they are the ones which we are working hard for, and you just use them when it suits you, and you arouse Pan-African sentiments for the continent to support you. And when it is done, for your selfish interests have been fulfilled, then you coil back and you go back in, and then you forget about, and then all of a sudden we have xenophobia rising in South Africa. Africans are being, tortured, but you've just left Ghana and Senegal, and you are dancing in there. You went to visit, and you guys are dancing, and you are not caring about what is happening in Burkina Faso or Mali or Niger, how our people are suffering there. I think that this has to be criticized with all the energy we can get. So you people who have enriched yourselves as presidents on the lives, on the resources, you have enriched yourselves on the lives and resources of the African people, and you are using Pan-Africanism, which is supposed to be a tool that should save all of us. If you people were paying attention to it, if you people were paying the real attention that is needed, to this tool that was given to us by our forefathers, then we would have been all liberated for a very long time, because you people know very well that you have used this tool for your own personal interest, and it has worked. The tool of Pan-Africanism has worked. Whenever Pan-Africanism has been summoned, in every instance, Pan-Africanism has delivered. Whether it is Uhuru Kenyatta from the ICC, whether it is Abiy Ahmed from the neo-colonial interference and disinformation campaign, whether it is Cyril Ramaphosa, arousing Pan-Africanism when South Africa was being, attacked during the coronavirus and banned from, the citizens were being banned from flying to Europe. whether it is Nana Addo who aroused Pan-African sentiments and Pan-Africanists supported him and then he used it for the year of return, whether it is Museveni for his protection against the neo-colonialism that was, trying to engulf the Ugandans and the Ugandan state and financing Kizza Besigye, Bobi Wine. He called on to Pan-Africanism, and the Pan-African sentiments were summoned, and Pan-Africanism delivered at every stage, at every occasion when Pan-Africanism has been summoned. Pan-Africanism has delivered the goods to these people. But why not take this to the next level? And that is what we are demanding with the next generation, the youth of this generation. That is what we are demanding. We are demanding that the ideals of our forefather, Pan-Africanism, in its real sense, the unifying of a continent, should be achieved in this generation. In this decade, we should be able to achieve a unified African state so that the social and economic development of Africans, the running of industries by Africans, should be delivered. We need the Africans to run their own economy. We do not need foreigners to come here in the name of investing. We have seen that foreigners have been coming, have been used, Indians, Lebanese, whites in South Africa, and they are being used as investors, as saviors, and we do not need saviors anymore. We need the local entrepreneurs to drive the economy of Africa. This is what we need. The Africa Continental Free Trade Area, it does not make sense. It does not make sense if the Africans cannot drive the economy. If foreigners are dominating the economy of Africa in the name of investors, which you African presidents have allowed them. You have given them a blank check to come to this continent and do whatever they want and exploit our resources and say they are investors. This is detrimental to the ideals of our forefathers of self-sufficiency, which Honorable Marcus Garvey spoke about, of pride as a people, the African personality, which Dr. Kwame Gonza spoke about, and of real independence. Investment in Africa should be accompanied by strong policy, a strong policy that favors the transfer of technology, that favors the local entrepreneurs, anyone with their money and they want to invest. They should invest according to the policy in a country that favors the Africans. They should not come and dictate conditions to us. So if they do not want to invest according to our policy, they should send back their money to where they think they can get the best return on it. Because we understand that there's no other place left like in Africa where money will bring much return, where investments will bring much return. So we are saying that Pan-Africanism in this decade, the new African state, the unified African state should be achieved, and investment should be done in a manner that favors the Africans. Transfer of technology, not only jobs, but the transfer of technology should be at the forefront. We do not want to be slaves forever. We do not want our people to be slaves forever, enslaved by foreigners on their own land, while other people were enslaving us in Europe and America, North America, in the 14th and 15th century and the later part of the 20th century. We do not want that to be here, so that they can come here and invest us and enslave us on our own land. So we are saying that entrepreneurship and investment should be driven by the Africans. We should build our African economy on the engine of African entrepreneurship, not foreign investment. So this is our argument. Pan-Africanism all over the continent, all over the world, should be summoned, to unify the continent within this decade, because Pan-Africanism has always delivered the goods whenever it has been summoned. When it was summoned during the independence era, Pan-Africanism delivered the goods. When it has been summoned by each of you, as I mentioned, the Akufo-Addo, the year of return, President Museveni, with the attack of neocolonialism, President Uhuru Kenyatta, ICC, President Cyril Ramaphosa of South Africa, when you summon the Pan-Africanism, you know, during the attack and the ban on South African citizens and the countries around, during the coronavirus, because of Omicron, Pan-Africanism delivered. President Abiy of Ethiopia, when you summon the Pan-Africanism has always delivered, and the Ethiopian state was delivered against neo-colonialism. When you mobilize the conscience of the Africans, of the Pan-Africans, of the African people around the world, every time Pan-Africanism has been summoned, Pan-Africanism has delivered. So let there be consistency and the parallel, you know, action, you know, which goes hand in hand with what is being spoken by all presidents on the continent, because this generation of Africans, we cannot wait anymore. We will not wait anymore when we have seen China being constructed rapidly in a period of less than 30 years. It has been constructed, you know, in 2007, China now has the biggest high-speed trains. We need high-speed trains on this continent. In a short period, China has gone on to build a massive network of high-speed trains. So we as Africans of this generation, the internet generation, the .com era, we will not take it. We will find means of removing you people if you do not deliver the goods, because we cannot wait anymore. We cannot continue to be hewers and drawers of water. We cannot continue to be enslaved in our own land when the steel, the investments, the manufacturing industry, all of them are dominated by foreign forces, Indians, you know, Lebanese and whatever, Arabs and whites and what. All this manufacturing and construction and everything which is sense mining is being dominated by imperialists, Western imperialists. We cannot wait. We will not wait. We will find a means of delivering this continent if you people cannot deliver our continent, you know, from exploitation. So we are saying, once again, that Pan-Africanism has always delivered and it will always deliver, and we need a unified Africa now. In this decade, Africa must unite under the Rapid Africa Plan and Concisism of Dr. Kwame Gonza. Thank you.